Richard Drax.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May I introduce, in the short time I have, just a slight note of caution. I was very impressed by the very impressive, Tiggerish almost, performance by the Minister, and he's very persuasive on this bill. But what concerns me is what is guiding the government policy, and dare I say, the policy of many in this House. The Climate Change Act in 2008, and then in 2019, when our government increased the carbon emission, or cutting emissions to 100% by 2050, were targets that, in my very humble opinion, were not really thought through. The practical consequences have not been thought through, and they are becoming more and more evident today as we discuss these very difficult issues. And don't let me mislead people in the House. I, like everyone here, want to break away from fossil fuel, have cleaner air. The green revolution, yes, it's coming, as our colleague Sir Atkinson said. But what we've got to be careful of is not to bring it in so quickly that it's not available, it's not affordable, and when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, it doesn't work. Strategically, we are an island nation, and we have to keep the lights on. And our duty as MPs is to say to our constituents, I can guarantee that when you go to your light switch, make a cup of tea or cook a meal, the power will be there to do all that, to get you from A to B, so you can drive your car. At the moment, as we know, there's a great drive for electric cars. They're expensive, the plug-in points. The investment is nowhere near ready for that revolution, and there are many questions from where the batteries and resources for them come from. And we've heard already from my honourable colleague about slave labour, which applies in many parts to the battery industry as well. Now, the carbon budget, which again, we are on our fourth carbon budget. I don't know whether people knew that, but it's from 23 to 27 now. And the carbon budget is really what the government is being guided by. Now, the carbon budget is advised by the Climate Change Committee, and once the budget is in place, it can be legally challenged. And so it's also set for 5 years. So the question now is, what about our democracy? We are debating these very, very crucial issues, in my humble opinion, probably for the first time. In 2008, it was just pushed through. In 2018, it was just pushed through. And here we are now, facing the consequences of those decisions. Now, if we are going to have to fall back on the courts to decide on policies that we make here, and we had that with the Brexit issue, and we can recall just the anxiety and grief that that caused, and that, in my view, is completely unacceptable. I've got 30 seconds left. The consequences, let me just point out three, if I may. In 18 months' time, no new house will be fitted with a gas boiler. In 7 years, petrol cars are going to be illegal, and in 12 years, no like-for-like boiler are going to be able to replace a like-for-like boiler. These are consequences. I'm very happy to give way.
I thank the member for giving way. In terms of the issue of car batteries, isn't it the case that after they have expired, most of them actually end up in landfill? And is this another significant problem that needs to be taken into stock when these issues are being considered?
It is. I think the practicality, I've read many articles, not least by Mr. Bean, who, as we know, is a car expert. He tried out a car battery, wrote a very good article in The Guardian about why we're not quite ready for battery cars. And certainly, for example, if my wife or daughter was travelling from A to B, I want her to get there safely, which she can do in a petrol or diesel car, without having to recharge or wait in a petrol station for maybe some minutes to recharge her car, which then takes half an hour or so to recharge. So it's the consequences of our actions, and I would just urge the government very carefully to think this through. We cannot impoverish our country to meet some, well, I would like to call it in some cases almost cultish policy to turn this country into something that we cannot, and we cannot afford it. And until we can afford it, until it works, that's when I think we should adopt all these policies. And so I would urge caution as the government goes forward.
Olivia Blake.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to declare an interest. My husband is a company secretary of an organisation